option is bring him back. He needed reps. You also didn't want him to get more hurt.
Right.
How difficult was the balancing act with, like, maybe him and Caden throughout the month, where, like, you know they're going to start, but you want depth and they need reps too?
Yeah, I think that you think about that at a lot of positions because you have to get guys ready, and I think that is really a conversation when you start off with a game like this, because you have to be ready to go. You have to build a callousness as to playing, conditioning, running and hitting, the tackling. We've had a very physical preseason, and the reason you have to do that is like we had, our opening game a couple years ago against Notre Dame is the same way. And so, those are decisions that have to be made, but there's only one way to do it. You just got to do it. You can't have regrets coming out of the first game that, I didn't hit enough, we didn't tackle enough. We've done that, and I think because of that, we're prepared to go. And we had another good practice today, and so now the pads come off, and a lot of it's going to be mental here moving forward.
Right next door, Spencer.
I guess in the same vein of balance, when you have a team that is a little inexperienced, but you know how talented this team is, how do you balance knowing that there might be some first game jitters, there might be a penalty or two early on, but when also understanding that you got to go win a football game? What's that balance like for you right now, 3 days out?
Yeah, I think you just try to share your experiences with these guys of what you've seen. And I think in first games, especially a game like this, it's easy to have expectations. And the only expectation is to win. Guys can get in their feelings because if you take, a whole group of guys who are going on the field, they all have these great expectations of how it's going to go. But when you're playing against an excellent opponent like we're going to play, it's not going to go the way you think, coaches and players included. So we have got to take one play at a time, play as hard as we can, stick together, and find a way to win. And that's it. And so you just try to, bring things like that to light, make sure they understand what to focus on going in, and then obviously the big thing is avoiding distractions. Because I think there are a lot of distractions, especially for young players.
Center, Patrick Murphy.
Ryan, we talked a lot about your guys and sort of the inexperience Texas will have to kind of figure out what's going on. But on your side, they have a lot of new guys from when you saw them.
Yep.
Are there guys that stand out? Are there guys that you are aware of? And how much do you have to prepare for the unknown, sort of like we talked about Monday?
Oh, yeah, they have great backs. Both backs are excellent. Obviously, Arch is excellent. They're, the tight end that they brought in is a really good player. The offensive line, I know those guys were highly recruited players, and the wideouts are fast. On defense, Hill and Simmons are tremendous. The back end returns a lot of guys. The Moore is a really good, guy off the edge, and they have really good players. These are some of the most highly recruited players in the country, and they do a great job of developing. So, a lot of good players. We know that, and that's what we've been preparing for. And anytime you play in matchup games, the good news is there's a lot of guys out there that we have played against. But like you said, a lot of new faces on both sides.
Dylan Davis.
You said yesterday that Philip Daniels had gotten himself ready to play, and he was still determined whether he'd rotate or not. Were you talking about whether he'd rotate in or somebody would rotate with him? I guess what's the answer at right tackle right now, or do you have one?
Oh yeah. No, we feel like he's ready to play, and we'll decide how much we're going to rotate at each position as we get closer here. We just got off the field, and we'll evaluate that. We feel like we have some depth at the position, which is good. And so, as we get closer, we'll decide if we're going to do a little rotating at some of the positions. But like I said, Phil will play a lot, and we'll kind of go from there. And then, once we get this game under our belt, we'll figure out where we're going from here.
Adam King.
Now that you have a whole offseason under your belt, how much have you been involved in the defense compared to the Jim this year? Which I know you always want to be involved. Have you been able to step back and focus on the offense?
Yeah, I think so. You still have to be in all the special teams and making sure you have a presence with the defense. But we do have a new quarterback, and Brian's calling plays for the first time. So I would say that the majority of my time is with the offense right now. But it's great to be able to spend time at night and decompress with Matt and just talk through some of the things he's seeing, and he's handling it like you would think a pro would. Tim Walton has a huge handle on it, so does Larry Johnson. And I feel like on special teams, Rob Keys has really stepped up. Nate Emner's helped out there. Gunner's helping out. So it's a team effort. And I think every year we're together more and more. Guys are, more and more experienced, understand what we want, what to expect. I feel like our practices are moving at a pretty efficient rate. But now we got to go play. and we got to figure out where we're at, make the corrections, and go on from there.
Bill Rabinowitz.
There's never been an opener in Ohio State like this. There have been top 5 matchups, but nothing like this. My sense is as a coach, you wish it was like the second or third game and not the first game. How are you kind of approaching this? I mean, how excited are you? How nervous are you? Just because it's 1 versus 2 or 3.
I think it's just great for college football. It's great for our fans. It's great for our team. Again, no expectations other than to win. But it's going to be a great environment. Like I mentioned before, the louder that we can make it, the harder we can make it for Texas, the better for us. And so, we need the crowd into it. Execution fuels emotion. I talk to the guys about that all the time. So the more, execution we have, the more big plays that we make, the more the crowd will get into it. And no, it's a great way to start the year. It's just different. It's different. And so, there's positives and negatives to everything, but man, what a great game to kick off the season with against a great opponent and our guys. But this is why you come to Ohio State. You come to Ohio State and play in games like this. No disrespect to other teams, but this is what it's all about. When you go to recruiting and you sit in people's homes and you talk about what it means to be a Buckeye and the great tradition of great games that are played, to say this is one of the best opening games that's ever been played in Ohio Stadium history. I mean, come on, this is unbelievable. So, for us to rally together early in the season like this as a fan base and as Buckeye Nation is going to be great.
All right, got time for 2 more. We'll go over here to Stephen Means. Oh, right there.
Yep.
Obviously, Sark's well known for the scripts that he all puts together. You don't do that. Why? What's the pros and cons of being a guy who has a early game script versus maybe not doing that?
Yeah, not to get into it too much, but some guys really like to do the script where they have their plays, and we do more openers because I feel like we would spend so much time on the script that we'd once the script was over, we would fall out of rhythm, and that was just my decision. And then the second thing on that is it doesn't always play the way you think. All of a sudden, early in the game, you're in the red zone a bunch, or you find yourself backed up, and you can find yourself out of rhythm. So we definitely have openers. We have things that we like to open the game with, plays that we use to kind of recognize what the other team is doing, which when we used to have a script, it would be the same way. I think there's pluses and minuses to everything. It's just what you believe in, and they do a great job of it.
We'll wrap it up with Cameron T. Robinson.
Brian, on the topic of rotating and the conversation you guys are going to have, how different is that conversation? Like you said, you have experience, you want to rotate your guys, but you have a game like this.
Yeah.
It's different than, say, if you open up the frame.
Yeah, I would say you're right. I would say that if it wasn't the opponent it was, you'd probably see more rotating in this game, and we'll see more rotating moving forward. But we also have to win this game, and that's the number one goal here coming out of it.